I'm discovering at Mayflower Marina on the research vessel Callista from the University of Southampton. My name is Amber and I work at the Natural History Museum in London and also at the University of Southampton. And this is my colleague Adrian, who's going to introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks Amber, it's great to be here. Yeah, I'm a marine biologist at the Natural History Museum in London, and we love to get out into the field and discover new things, particularly in our oceans. And it's wonderful to be here on this beautiful sunny day in Plymouth. We're about to do something really exciting. We're going to dive down, see what we see at the bottom of the seafloor right underneath the ship now. So it's going to be live diving with our amazing vehicle, which we call Rex, the remotely operated vehicle for research, education and exploration, my favourite bit.
Awesome. So we're going to, with no further ado, we're going to go and deploy Rex into the ocean right now. I think this is a first. We're all Rex.
You've done this before. How it works and what you're going to see. So if you can come down here, Gary, our amazing cameraman. So I'm just going to turn around. This is Rex. He's quite small. We've got some lights at the front here. We've two cameras which allow us to see everything that Rex sees live at the surface in the control room. I'll show you later. Little thrusters at the front and back. So without further ado, because time is of the essence, and Neil's just here to help the deployment. One of the most important things to remember with ROVs is that they have a long cable which connects them back to the surface ship, and it carries the power to run the thrusters, the propellers on the ROV, and also all the data. So that's all the video data and the controls that we'll be using later to control it. So I'm just going to call now Nick, who's inside. Nick, do you read? Over.
Over.
Okay, Nick, looking good out here, so we're ready to deploy Rex. All good where you are?
All good here.
Okay, copy that. So we're going to deploy off the stern and then drop down the clump weight to follow, and then we'll come in and see what we can see. Over. Okay, so Rex is quite small and light. We can actually deploy Rex off the back of a ship just by hand. Just going to pop him straight into the water. So just on the surface there. Okay, Nick, free to dive. Dive.
They're heading down.
Copy that, yeah, and then Neil's just going to now follow down with the clump weight. Over.
Okay, so our lovely little Rex is now safely in the water. 2 minutes, see what Rex is seeing, but we're going to give him a little bit of time, first of all, to be able to get down to the seabed so we can see some really cool stuff.
I'm excited already. We've done one of these already today, but there's always a bit of excitement whenever you deploy a piece of equipment off the back of a boat. You never quite know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we can't see where he is.
It seems to be going well. No one's fallen overboard, so
yeah, that's good.
So yeah, what next?
Just a little introduction to what we're actually studying and researching here today. So as you may know, we are all marine biologists that are on board today, and we've also got the ship's crew. And what we are doing is we are looking at the biodiversity, which means all of the animals, the flora and the fauna, so that live within our oceans, but specifically the ones that live in the UK coasts. And I think a few of the things that might surprise you that they actually live within the UK. For example, we're going to see some really beautiful corals, which most people don't know lives in the colder water.
You won't see them right underneath the ship now because we're in the Plymouth Sound, which is sort of muddy kind of a bottom. But when we went out, just out beyond the breakwater,
yeah.
Only 10 minutes in the boat, you can see some reef habitats we can't. So maybe we should get on the sea.
Okay, so we're just going to head in.
Rex, it's quite exciting to see what we do. So let's go in. This is a really exciting moment. We're going inside the boat now. Callista is quite a hull boat, quite big. We have this amazing laboratory space here where we can look at animals live, or we're doing it in the show. We're going to come into my favourite part of the ship, which is the ROV control room. So look, Nick, we're on the seafloor. Yeah. Amazing. Okay, that's fantastic. It's piloting, so control and across. What's our depth, Nick?
We're here at 16 metres.
Okay, 16 metres, so already quite deep. You'd struggle to dive down there on your own, but we're there with Rex. So if you press,
Saw a little fish.
you saw a little fish, fantastic. So right up here we have a screen here, which is the control screen for all of REX of this remotely operated vehicle. We have, for example, a heading here. So this is the compass direction, which is very important. It's quite hard to know which direction you're going sometimes. We have 2 cameras. It's quite green. We might be able to, if you just settle down on the seafloor, Nick, for a minute, it's on and off, which is actually just down there, yeah. So that's with the lights off, and you can see even down at 20 metres it gets cookie. And let's just pop the lights on, and you can actually probably turn them. So you saw a fish, did you, a minute ago?
Yeah.
Sometimes we see spider crabs here, and we're going to show you some of that video in a minute. But live, right now, from the seafloor, we've never actually tried this before. So we never know what's going to happen. The biggest challenge with remotely operated vehicle work is keeping the tether, that's the cable behind you, in the right place. So you're getting pulled around a little bit. Maybe the current's picked up a bit. So maybe just thrust down and sit on the seafloor, and then, oh, there's your tether. So follow that back. That's it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
There we go.
Just get back to your clump weight.
It's really green in the water. Why is it so green? It's almost like a big pea soup down there.
That's right. So Amber's just pointing out, looking at the colour of the sea. We're seeing on the big screen here. There's quite a lot of algae growing in the water because it's so sunny, it's so bright. We're in midsummer, so we're in the middle of this like bloom of photosynthesis. That is the growth of algae in the water column, generating new life in the ocean. So it's really kind of a productive time in our seas. That's green. So green is good. Nick's just flying along. So what? Yeah. So I was thinking, coming towards to see if we've got any questions from the audience. Is that right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you said photosynthesis. Does that mean that these are all plants that are making this green colour?
That's right. The surface layers of our ocean are full of a type of plant, particularly called algae, photosynthetic algae which can use the sun's energy to grow and actually provide all of the source of most of the life in our ocean comes from it. So it's really, really important. Looks like we may have some questions already. So pass over to Amber for that.
Awesome.
Great.
So,
Over with you.
questions. Oh yeah, I get to take a.
We get to see
Okay.
on the sofa.
We get a little break.
As near as we can make.
So we've had a few. We're going to try and get through as many as we can. So first of all, from Perranporth School, we've got the classes of Year 4, and our very first question, 2018 of Deep Discovery, is from Isabella. Hello, Isabella.
Hello.
The water, and they can also make sure that they're filming all of the different colour lights, and I'll go through that in a little bit. We've got some cool video that shows you how. So it's quite complex, and we'll answer that question a little bit more in depth for you later.
It's a good question, because one of the biggest challenges with ROV work, getting that really good video signal,
Yeah.
of course, keeping the camera dry. Housing that we have down there on REX are bubbles, so we have to be very careful that we don't get water into those and cause any sort of problems. So it's really difficult, but REX is really well designed for that. I think everything's still working okay.
Yeah, we love
Everything's
Rex.
still going okay, Nick?
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, this is from Torren, who says, what is the strangest thing you've ever found? You've been on more Rex dives than me. You've been all over the place. You've been in Iceland. You've been to Bermuda.
Bahamas. Yes, that's right. So
what have you found?
Rex is an amazing tool because actually we can travel all around the world with it and see all kinds of things. And one of the points you mentioned one of our trips that we did, which was to Iceland, an island in the very northern part, almost the Arctic, Atlantic Ocean, where we saw these incredible underwater hydrothermal vents, these hot springs on the seafloor, covered with life. With Rex's videos, and I haven't put some of that on the YouTube channel yet, but I've prepared it to go on the YouTube channel, so keep track of Rex on Twitter.
Yeah, watch this space and you'll see some cool hydrothermal vents.
That was the most amazing thing, and there was an amazing shark we saw in the Bahamas actually, which
Wow.
is dive number 7, which is on the YouTube channel.
You want to go and see a cool shark? Dive
you-
number 7 on
go
the
to
YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's right. 007.
Oh,
It was
007.
very appropriate for
James Bond the
That's
shark.
right.
Okay, so we've got Bradley and Zach. How cold is the water?
Oh,
So
well,
here
we
at the
can actually
moment,
tell you
yeah.
live. Nick, have you got a temp on the?
Exactly 22.7 degrees.
That's very accurate. Thank you, Nick. 22.7 degrees. That's much warmer than I thought
I
it was going
suspect
to
that's
be.
a few degrees above the seawater temperature, because that thermometer is on
Ah,
Rex, and it
okay.
might be that Rex is a bit warm from sitting in the sun
Okay.
when we put Rex in. So I suspect it's a little bit less.
I was expecting 18 or
18,
19. I
yeah.
think that's possibly what it
Probably
is.
See in a few minutes it'll go down.
So yeah, you should go for a
Good.
swim. It's quite warm for this
Very
time
good
of year.
Very good question though. oceanography.
Okay, we've got another question from Isabel. What's it like to be a marine biologist? Well, it's pretty cool. I would recommend it. I've wanted to be a marine biologist since I was about 6 years old, and you know, I'm doing it now, so I'm very happy. I get to go on really cool boats like this. I get to use really cool equipment, really cool animals, which you'll see some more of in a bit. You get your hands in, you get dirty, you're doing all sorts of cool science. You get to travel all over the world sometimes and see really amazing things. But then you also get to find parts of the sea, like what we do with Rex, that no one else gets to see. So all the things you're going to see today, hardly any people get to see that because it's so deep you can't swim down there. So yeah, we're very lucky, aren't we, I think.
It's incredible, yeah. I think you answered that very well.
So
wow,
yeah,
excellent. More
that's the end of the questions from Parent Port School. We're now moving on to Devon, and this is year 4 again. Hello, Devon School. Can Rex be attacked?
Well, that is a good question, actually. Being out in the open ocean, and you put over a period of time, you do get to them, even in UK waters, actually. I know Nick, who we're just chatting to, is piloting the ROV now. Nick was on an amazing expedition just off to the coast of Wales, sort of in the southern Irish Sea, where they put a whale carcass, a dead whale that had washed up on the beach out to sea, surrounded by blue sharks. Made an amazing ITV programme about that, and so you do get sharks. And Rex has been bumped by a shark. I wouldn't say been attacked, but yeah. So we've had a few incidents.
Few incidents, but he's brave. He wouldn't be attacked. He's a scary thing. Okay.
That's a good one.
That's a really good question. Someone's clearly got a lot of expertise in deep sea stuff here, so we're very impressed. Could Rex go in the Marianas Trench? So we're actually all deep sea biologists here. So yes, Rex could go in the Marianas. Well, Rex couldn't, but some of his brothers who could go down to much deeper. But yeah, generally most ROVs go as high as low as 6,000 meters if they're a really good one. So he couldn't quite get down to the Marianas Trench, but there are other vehicles that could get down there. Rex would have a bit of a bad time if he tried.
The maximum depth that we can get to with Rex is actually down to about down to what, 300 meters, I think. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Good.
Okay, so I think that's the end of our questions for the time being. What we're going to do now is just to move back outside, and we're going to go and have a look at what are we going to look at the screen quickly. So if you want to start.
And now we're just going to explain a little bit about what we can see here. This is some fantastic. Brilliant. So, Amber, Nick charge up one of the devices that we've got here. We've got cables running all over the laboratory. Whoa, my goodness me! Actually, a big spider crab that we saw just beneath the ship, on the last trip we did last year. And here we've got some very typical animals that you might see on the Seafans around where we are now in Plymouth Sound. This is what we call a dead man's finger. It's a slightly gruesome sounding term for a small coral. And then you can see the little corals, and these are really able to feed. And they actually pull down into their bodies that are just wafting past in the currents. You can see all these particles here. And things about the ocean, of course, is that it's a very three-dimensional habitat where you have food all over the place, and you have these organisms which can bring that food into their bodies like this. So Amber's back now. She's fixed a minor technical problem revolving around battery power. We're getting there.
Okay.
It's a live show.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. But I think the next bit, the light attenuation. So if we just cut to the screen a moment, what you're going to be able to see is that there we go. So what you just saw then was Rex's lights on, and then they turned off, and you'll have noticed that it went really, really blue.
What's that amazing animal? That's fantastic.
Nils, you'll know what this is, won't you?
It's a xenophyophore.
There you go, a massive xenophyophore.
I think it's a bryozoan, actually.
Oh, a bryozoan.
Ooh, yeah, that's a roscal. Beautiful roscal. So
Whatever it is, it's weird and beautiful.
Fabulous, yeah.
But so when light disappears in the ocean, the first light that goes is red light. So this is some more footage with Rex with his lights off. And in a moment, when he turns it on, you'll get the light that has all of the different light wavelengths in it, including the red bit. And you'll see all the kind of red and yellow colours come back into the shot. And yeah, that's because the red light disappears first, and that's because it's a much longer wavelength and it needs more energy to get further into the sea.
Oh, fantastic sea urchin there. We're just on the side, probably down at about 30-40 metres water depth now. I think we filmed this just off Eddystone last year. Fabulous sea urchin. Here you've got some pink Seafans growing on this rocky wall. This is what we call a reef habitat. Really, really amazing. Oh, there's a really big Seafan. So these amazing corals that you see on your screen are actually here present all around the Plymouth and southwest coast. And there's a cuckoo wrasse over there.
So what's quite amazing about those sea urchins is that they can actually be found all the way down to 1,200 metres in the UK seas. So that's over a kilometre deep into the oceans.
Look at the colour of that beautiful sponge. So
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
Sponge. Oh, there's a close-up of it with Rec. You just get those amazing shots.
So the kind of pink coral that's waving in the background is this pink sea fan that Adrian mentioned. And the pink sea fan is actually a protected species and that's because they make habitats for juvenile fish, and animals such as dogfish, which are a type of shark that we get in our waters, will actually lay their eggs on it as well. So they're very, very important. Yeah, so this is very exciting. This is a conger eel. They're a scaleless fish, so they've got no scales, and that's probably because they just sit a lot of the time like this, and so they don't need the scales to make them go faster. So that was a conger eel, and they generally live around 50 metres depth, but sometimes when they need to breed, they can go down to 5,000 metres in the North Atlantic. So that's 5 kilometres deep.
Alcyonium, the red finger corals.
Yeah, so these are related to the white soft coral you saw at the start of the video, but these are the red version. And what you can actually do, if you look at some of the videos on our Rex channel with these in, you can count the number of tentacles on each one of these little stalked polyps. And you'll find that there's 8, which means that they're an octocoral. And then other ones that only have 6 would be a hexacoral. And that's how you start identifying different species of coral. But yeah, this is this beautiful walled habitat. In the moment, we're going to come across a...
That's
yeah.
UK waters.
Yeah.
You think that you'd have to go to some tropical paradise to see this sort of underwater life. But this is just off the coast here. In fact, we'll probably go out more to this site. It takes 10 minutes to get out there in the boat.
But that footage with the red fingers really, really shows how amazing it is to use Rex. Because if we were down there looking with our own eyes, we wouldn't have seen any of those red colours. But Rex puts his lights on, and that's why we can see them all. Okay, this is a very funny and cool animal here. That was a sea cucumber. They're very weird. They're related to sea stars and the other sea urchin you saw earlier. And what they actually do, out of their bottoms, they have lots of tentacles which they can eject out when they either see something they don't like the look of, like a predator, or if they're trying to catch some prey, and they can throw out these tentacles and it basically ejects stuff out from their bottoms to scare the predators or attract the prey. So yes, they're very, very strange animals. But yeah, there's so much diversity in the UK coasts. This is a gold cinny, this little fish, and you can tell that because it's got a black dot on the bottom. And you just see there's so much stuff.
And again, all that water column.
Yeah.
That's going in the
And just
algae
over there was a sea star as well, and they're really cool. That's called Marthasterius glacialis, and they actually produce a lot of mucus that they put all over their bodies, and this is to protect them from parasites, so that parasites don't attach to them as well. But then some of those fish, like the gold cinny, actually clean parasites off other fish as well, such as sea lice. So it's this whole diverse ecosystem that has all sorts of different species living all together in harmony, which is lovely. Well, not their prey. Okay, so we're now just going to back outside again, and we're going to have a look at some real life specimens that we brought up on that cage experiment we were showing you earlier. So we have had this down, we've put it down every year for I think about 6 years now, is it, or 4 years?
Yeah, this is our 6th year.
6th year.
There's the ferry going past, making a bit of noise.
Oh.
But, yeah, shall I explain to people what we've done here? So this is, I'll just come around this side, Amber, so you can see. So this is actually an experiment we put down a year ago on the seafloor. And you can actually see that this is kind of like a cage. We had a camera here focused down on the sea life, the animal life that was coming in here, feeding on some very special things we put down, which was in this case some wood and some pieces of bone material. We're actually experimental science project looking at what happens to bone when it degrades on the sea floor, and sometimes we find species new to science actually living on those bones. So really interesting. We're going to be looking at that later in the lab. But one of the things you can see is it's just covered in life. You have all of these things. So you've got bryozoans here. We've got along all the sides here, you have these worm tubes growing. So when we brought this up, it was just covered in life, and there were lots and lots of crabs. We've got a few in some pots over there. So putting experiments down on the seafloor like this and leaving them, we put instruments, cameras, things to monitor the temperature and the temperature logger on here as well. Really, really valuable way of getting insights into what happens over long periods of time on our ocean floor. So what we got down here, Amber?
Okay, so down here, I'm not going to take this guy out of the bucket in case he gets me, but this is a velvet swimmer crab. And what you can see in the video is his back legs are very flattened. And the
Put my
reason
finger in there to scale.
yeah, he's a big one. And his back legs are flattened, which is why they're called a velvet swimmer crab. They're very, very quick, which is why I'm not sticking my hand. They have these massive red eyes. They're quite a predatory, aggressive and territorial crab. So if you see one of these in a rock pool, I wouldn't suggest it was the crab that you want to go and catch to put it in the bucket. I'd go for the other ones. They're much nicer. And here we've got this gorgeous fish as well. I think he's a blenny. So you'll see him moving around there. And these kind of fish will spend a lot of time in rock pools as well. You'll see a lot of the juvenile versions of these when you go out rock. And basically, you see so much of these in these little rock pools. And that's because you can see their little fins there. They can almost walk, like they use them as like arms and feet. So let's get the light on it so it's perfect. There we go. This is a beautiful worm. It's a sabellid worm. And you can see here, it's got lots of filter feeder, so you can see this, it's almost brush-like, and that's what it will use to pick up tiny microscopic organisms and also